Hey everybody, George here. I'm going to show you how to operate the tweaker menu system used on Medieval Madness. And the first thing I'm going to show you is how the cabinet users can operate the tweaker with only using the flipper and the plunger keys. I'm kind of moving the view around here so we can see the apron better because the tweaker for cabinet users shows up here. And in fact, this table has some code in the script that I can identify that this table is being played on a cabinet, and it will automatically turn the HUD off. And it's something that you need in order for the tweaker to work correctly. And so what you do for cabinet users is you just press either the left or the right flipper key to open the menu, which you see right here. And as you can see, the game tweaker open, and then we can press either the left or the right flipper key to go to the lighting tweaker, and then we can then go on to the PhysX tweaker by pressing the left or right flipper key, and then we can exit the tweaker by just pressing the left or right flipper key again. So let's open it back up again. I've kind of shown you in the progression through the different tweakers. Let's go to the lighting tweaker, and let's say we want to be able to change the lighting mode that's being used right now. So got the tweaker for the lighting open here, and so what we do is press the plunger key, and that will move the display down to an option that you can use to change the light mode. And you can, as you can see on the DMD there, you can use the left or right flipper keys to change the options. And you can see I've changed it to night mode. I'm just pressing the right flipper key, and it goes to the dark night mode. Now I can press the right flipper key again, and it will start over the list all over again, and go through each of the modes again. Or I can press the left flipper key and go back to the day mode, and of course the left flipper key will go to the dark night mode as well. And so let's say we want to go to the day mode and change it to that. Now after you change it, we want to navigate down through the whole list of options here, in the parameters I should say, and you do that by pressing the plunger key, and you can see the lots of data here, that 3 sets of numbers. I will cover that a little later, and I'll get down to the bottom of this list, and we get to this option that we can reset everything to the default, and I'll explain that a little later as well. And this is a setting for startup, and then this is the option where we save. So if you don't save this setting here, it will keep your the setting that we selected for the current game, but if you don't save, it will revert back to the previously saved setting. So in order to save it, we just press, like it shows there on the DMD, we'll press the left or right flipper key to save, and then you see there it saved it. And then the last thing you do is you can exit the tweaker by just pressing the plunger key. And that's really all there is to it. Let me press the full table 2 view here, and so we can get back to the options here for what we were I'm going to talk about how the desktop people can change their settings as well. And let's just go ahead and start the game here. There is one thing about using the flipper and the plunger keys to navigate the system, is that you must do it before the game starts. And the reason for that is, of course, that you don't want to be changing menu options while you're playing the game, because you do have to use the plunger and the flipper keys during the game. And so to avoid changing the stuff around in the tweaker while you're playing it, we just have to disable it. And so what we'll do here is to start the game. I'll just push the coin in, and then the start game key. And those flipper and the plunger key options are kind of limiting, but they're kind of handy if you just want to change like one parameter and then be done with it. Otherwise, you may want to see if you can figure out a way to attach a keyboard if you're going to try to do something more complicated. I know one guy has a wireless keyboard connected to his CPU in the cabinet, and he can control anything he wants by the wireless keyboard. So anyway, let's go on to the desktop user. And the first thing that the desktop user will do is to press the special key 1, and that will open up the tweaker. And let's get it back up to the HUD turned on. All I'm really doing here is just pressing the HUD toggle key, and there's an option here on the game tweaker for the HUD as well, and you can just cycle through each of these just by turn that off, and then we can cycle through the different options. And that's what the one I typically use. And then we can press the special 1 key and turn that game tweaker back on. And you can go through the same options here by just, changing the left or right arrow key. And let's just go ahead and save this setting here. And I like to start people off out with the lighting option, because you can see the changes that you're making while you're making them. And this is the gamma option for the lighting. It's a really good option to change just the general lighting, brightness on the table. And you just press the left arrow key to reduce the color or the brightness, and press the right arrow key to increase the brightness, and then you can see you can get it quite bright, probably much brighter than what anybody would want to use. And let's say you want to leave it there at 1.8. Alright, you can read the overlay that's above the DMD, and you can see that the D is to change it to default values, and the U is for the startup values. So and then we can go to save by just pressing the save key, which is an S. And there we go. We've got the value saved to the startup. The 1.8 is now saved. The top number there is really just a setting that's in the read-only menu. memory, I mean. And so it can be saved just like I showed you to the startup. And then the default are the values that have been entered into the script. And there's a section at the top of the script where you can change the default values if you feel like you need to. Although you can save all the changes that you want to make right here, so there's not really a need to do that. And so once when you get all the changes made that you want to make, you can cycle back and forth between the default and startup by just pressing the D for default. And you can see that it's gone to 160 now, or 1.6 on the gamma. And then let's press the U to go back to the 1.8 for the startup. And so you can just alternately press the D for default or U for startup, and back and forth, and you can kind of compare the two, see which one that you want to keep. And if you really want to save your settings, if you want to save the default, all you really got to do is just press the D and then press the save, and then there you are back to the default. That's really the options there. The top number is just basically the read-only memory option. Startup is just, the values that you save to the FP RAM file. The default are the values from the script. And when you start out, you'll see that all three of these values are set up to be the same until you decide to make a change. That's really the basics. There are many options here, and you can see that they're all set up with the same startup, default, read-only memory. And I've gone through, set up what I believe are the best values. That's just for the day mode. Now you can go through all these modes, and you can actually set up different values for each one of these 4 light modes. But usually the guys that play tables, they seem like they like to be able to make things just really super dark. And so you can just go through and change all these values so they're darker and get it to where you want. Let's go back to the default, and I prefer having it back on the day mode, just to and you can see that this, when I press the default, it actually changes all the different 4 lighting modes. It changes all those settings to the default, and that's the basics. Now I want to go back to the Game Tweaker, and let's kind of just go down through here. There's a balls per game option that you can't change that during the game because there's a limitation on Future Pinball where it doesn't work. And so I just put the sign up there saying it doesn't work. It's not really a problem with the tweaker. It's really a problem with Future Pinball being able to do it. Raycasting is something that the ball shadows on the table, and it can require a lot of resources on your PC, and so you can turn that off if you have trouble, but otherwise I would leave it on. And this is the camera views. Lots of options here. I think there's like 14 views, and you just press the left arrow key to look through them. And then we go back to 1, and then 2, and then you just go. 5 is the closest option to the full table 2 view. And let me just kind of switch back to that, I'm going to press the F2 key, which will turn on the full table 2. And you can see with that view, it cuts off the top of the castle that I don't really like too well. So I'm going to press the D key to go back to the default, and you can see that with all of these options, you can see the top of the castle. That's actually the reason why I created this option. There's lots of sound options in here. You can actually change the sound of the ball rolling on the play field. The one that option 1 is the one I prefer, at least on this table. I listened to this table on various videos, and option 1 to me seems to be the closest to the sound of the real table. Although these other 2 options do make the sound a little more obvious, and so you notice it more. But in my thinking, is option 1 is the closest to the real one. And they've got 2 options for the wire. I think you should be able to hear it play the 2 sounds. And then there's the difficulty level that Flood created. He's got, I can't change that during the game, but he has added a mega multi-ball option that you can read there in the description of the option there on the overlay. And then there's the mega easy version. And now we start all of the sound options, and this is for the pup ball roll max volume. This is the option that you probably have seen in the script if you've ever done a setup, but you can change it right here on your tweaker, and you can save it just like I showed you earlier. This is the future pinball ball roll sound, and it's adjusted the same way. There's this audio presets. Let me kind of arrow down, and I can show you all the options that controls. So you got music, you got the loud game sound, the loud surround sound feedback option per game, the quiet game sound, the quiet surround sound feedback game sound. You got loud special effects and quiet special effects. And the volume of voices is the last option that is controlled by this preset option up above here. So what this does, the guys that have pinball cabinets, I have read, they sometimes complain that they can't hear these ball rolling sounds very well. And so one option is simply to reduce all the volume of all the sounds on the whole table by a certain amount, and it will make these ball rolling options sound louder, even though they're still playing at the same volume. And you can go through these at increments of the 0.05 until you get to 0.3. And that's significantly quieter. And so when you play the game, all the sounds will be quieter except for these ball rolling sounds. So it will make those actually sound louder. So that's that option. Let's suppose you look down through here and you see, oh, well, the loud surround sound feedback game sound is set pretty low. We can raise that up a little, or even up to 1. But then there's this option here for the quiet surround sound games. These are all the really quiet sounds on the table. and you may have trouble hearing them if they're set that low. So you can just go ahead and raise that on up. And in fact, let's just leave it there. And we'll go back up to the preset option, and you'll see that there's something new there. And this is the same option where we were at before. It is the preset volumes. And it shows that you should save changes now. And so, if you don't do that, and you just go ahead and press the left or right arrow key, the changes that you just made will disappear. So let's just go ahead and press the S key to save. And you can see that the what's changed out there on the DMD there, it says there's more choices now, left or right. And these are the same default in the various settings that I showed you earlier. Only you've got your saved option as a separate option. You can still compare them with all these others and decide you may want to go with something different. And so as you can see there that see the quiet surround sound feedback is still set to 1 where it was set to 0.7. If you go to this option like that. So anyway, that's a kind of a cool option. Be aware that I have adjusted all the sounds on the table so they play correctly on Future Pinball. I don't have access to a table that has surround sound feedback on it. So you may need to go through these and make changes to make your system sound right. Although it's been my experience that the Future Pinball setup that I create usually works pretty well on the surround sound feedback tables as well. So, but let's say there is another option that you can do here, like your quiet surround sound feedback sound. Like we had it set to 1 there, and on our when we saved it, and that can actually be set that way, and you can go up here and reduce the volume of your ball roll sound so it's down by 30% as well as the other options are, and you can save it that way. And it's a way of just boosting these quiet game sounds on your tweaker here. And so you set that to 1. It was set to 0.7. And you can just set that to the max, and you can boost all of your quiet sounds as well. And it actually lists all of the different objects that are controlled by the sound under these two, the quiet surround sound and the loud surround sound. It has all of the flipper strokes, or the upstrokes, are quite loud, whereas you can see down here that the flipper downstrokes are quite soft. So, and I can show you a little trick that you can tell whether everything's working correctly or not. So let me just kind of turn this tweaker off, and we will I'm going to turn up the volume some here, so you may have a little more trouble hearing my voice, but in order to be able to hear what's going on the table, I need to turn these up. there. I don't actually recommend using these, just because the music option just controls all the sound that's been added to the music manager, and this table and many others have lots of other sounds in there, and so you're really better off going into the Game Tweaker and making your sounds to the different music options in there, and it will actually be a little better. But let me go ahead and launch the ball here. And so one thing you can do is use this ball roller that I've got here, and you can just whack these rubber posts that are on the slingshots, and I can hear that pretty well, at least. So if you can hear that, you're doing pretty good. In fact, these options for the rubber sounds vary with the speed of the ball. So let me just try dropping that, and it should be even a little louder. Let me do it again. So I had a few other sounds in there. Let me see. There you go. I think you can hear that. If you don't have this ball roller, there is some directions on the Pinball Nirvana website where you can, somebody has written up a guide on how you can set that up. But another thing you can do is these flipper keys. You can hear the flipper key. That's a loud sound. But when the flipper returns back to the original state, it makes a much quieter sound. Then it kind of sounds kind of like a kerplunk there. So you can, I can hear both sounds, the up and the down. And so that's another sign that you've got it set correctly. If you couldn't hear that over the top of the music that's in the background, you will probably need to make some kind of adjustment. But anyway, let me go turn the volumes back down again so that you can hear me talk. And I want to go back to the PhysX tweaker now. There's an option in here that controls the amount of bounce. That's the amount of bounce off of the flippers that you see there. And so it, let me just kind of demonstrate this a little bit. We got very high bounce, most bounce. Okay. So this is the one I'm talking about here. You can see that just bounces a whole lot. I'm sure that's probably higher than what anybody would want. There is a option 6 that's in there as the bounce that matches what's in the all-in-one example table that Terry Red put out that installs PhysX, and that matches the number 6, actually matches those settings as well. And let me just try to show you how that works. See, that's not quite as much bounce, and it's still more bounce than what I like. So what I do, I reset to default, and I like the very low bounce. And so, and that's how I like it, which I don't know, you may not. And if you want it to bounce to match what you're used to on Terry Red's tables, you can set that to a 6, and it will be the same. That's what he uses. But anyway, the way this works is this works just like those audio presets that I showed you on the Game Tweaker. And it takes only the difference is it only uses 3 parameters, these 3 parameters that are directly below the option there for the bounce choices. And you just arrow down, that's the first option, that's the second, And that's the third. And then you can see that when I change this setting here, the settings change on the top number, which is the value that's actually played currently. Then you would have to save that setting if you wanted to use it in the future, if you wanted to close the game and come back to it. And in fact, 6 is there. And you can see that the 2500 matches the original value. Those numbers that are in the overlays here, those are the values that came out of the all-in-one example table. And it's where it was originally set before I made all these changes. And I've changed some, I've kept some the same, so you can experiment with these if you want to. But the main one I wanted to show you is you can change the bounce off the flippers if you choose to do so. That is really all of the things I intended to show you. I hope you enjoy this table. I really like working on it. I spent a lot of time developing all this stuff, and you should let me know if you like it or not when you after you download the table and give them a try. Thank you for listening and learning how to operate the tweakers.